to thank you all for being here. Time is a precious commodity, so I just appreciate you taking an hour today for your own development. We're going to be using chat a lot today. We'll have space at the end for some questions and answers. I'll have some exercises that you'll do as well. The rest of our time together, I'm going to be sharing habits, 3 habits that have helped me and others protect our time, energy, and focus. And I want you to share in the chat, yes, this is me. I'm here if any of these resonate with you. So you're a leader, you're navigating complex challenges, you're managing teams, making big picture decisions. You're passionate about the work that you do, your organization's mission. You want to make a positive impact. You have a hunger for learning, but you also feel like you're overextending yourself.
Amen.
You want to stop working nights and weekends. You want to stop feeling like you need to control everything or have all the answers. Does any of it? I'm seeing yes, me. Your calendar's packed. You wish you had more time to think. You've reached the point where this can't continue. Does that sound? Yep, yep. Hi, Cindy. It's good to see you on the call. Welcome. So I want you to make sure that you have pen and paper with you because I will have you do a couple of exercises today, or you could use a Word document if you want to capture notes, do the exercises, capture questions along the way as well. So, yep. Oh, hi, Cindy. I miss you too. Yep. So I hear a lot of people are in the right place. A lot of these things definitely resonate with you. So this is something that I hear all the time. It is probably the number one complaint that I hear from leaders. And I mean, let's face it, probably everyone. I'm sure you hear this from people on your team as well. Right. We don't have enough time to think strategically. We don't have enough time to grow ourselves, develop our teams, or even have breaks. I mean, how many of us sit at our computers at lunch? Right?
Yep.
Yep. I'm guilty of it sometimes as well. You feel emotionally exhausted, you feel stretched too thin, you are in reaction mode instead of leading. You know you need to delegate, but you either don't fully trust your team to take ownership, or maybe they feel overloaded as well. And you get stuck in this cycle of doing instead of leading. You feel like you're firefighting and managing those fires instead of managing people. At times, it feels like maybe your communication and management habits, they haven't evolved to your company's growth, and you feel guilty for not being fully present at work or at home. I know a lot of this resonates with you because I'm seeing a lot of stuff happening in the chat. And one of the questions I'd asked you when you registered was to think about how much time would I like to reclaim each week in hours. And I got a variety of answers. So anywhere from 2 hours a week to 40 hours a week. Yeah, and some people, I'd say about half of the individuals said at least 10 hours a week. So on average, we're looking at about, if you're doing a 5-day work week, about 2 hours back a day. And it's also important not just to know how much time you want, but also what are you going to do with that time? So for me, if I had 10 hours back each week, it would be more time outdoors hiking with my family, spending more time with my family in the outdoors, playing games, engaging in sports activities. My son just loves throwing around the football and the baseball. We played Marco Polo this weekend in the pool. It was just lovely to have that time. So outdoor time, active time with my family, and reading. I am a avid reader. I love books. So if I had that time, that's what I would do with it. Well, I also asked you the same question, and here's what you said. There was definitely a lot of themes. I want more time with family. I want more time with friends and pets. I want to be able to work more with customers, with clients, with patients, whoever it is that you serve. I want to be able to have time to grow myself, to grow my business, to grow my career. Have me time, time for creativity. Maybe it's to do art, to read, journaling, taking a break, actually having lunch away from our desks. And then there was a lot around not feeling rushed and making sure that I have time for health related activities, exercise, massages, hiking. And the reason why I've asked this question is because this is your motivation to stick with it, to stick with the habits I'm going to share with you today. if you don't know how you're going to fill the space, the time that you get back, you're going to fill it with things that are comfortable, or you're going to go into old patterns and habits. So if you're used to firefighting, I finally got that time back. If I'm not clear on what I want to use that time for, you're going to start going back into that firefighting mode. So we want to have that clear idea. And for some of you, you left that blank. You weren't sure. So I hope that some of the things that I shared, some of these themes that people shared, I hope that starts giving you an idea that inspires what you want to focus on with that reclaimed time. So as I was preparing for this, I started looking at data of why does this all matter? Why is this so important? So I looked at data around how much time are people working? So we have the 40-hour typical work week, but is that what leaders are actually working? So I looked at a few different sources, and there was this one Harvard Business Review article that talked specifically about CEOs and said on average, CEOs are working 62 and a half hours a week. Now, I know that this was just CEOs, but I'm sure some of you on this phone call today can resonate with this, even if you're not in a CEO position. I've talked to a number of leaders in manager positions and director positions, C-suite, VPs, and a lot of them resonate with that I'm working at least 60 hours a week. That's a 10-hour workday, working on the weekends. So the average is about 4 hours on the weekends, working during vacation time. And this I thought was pretty staggering as well, spending 60 to 72% of our time in meetings. Does that feel like how much time you're spending in meetings for anyone? I remember when I was in formal leadership position, it certainly felt like that. At least 50 to 60% of my time was in meetings. Now, a lot of those meetings were valuable, but it makes it hard for you to be able to follow up on those emails, to review that report, to do the editing that you need to do. Another piece of data that I saw that I thought was pretty, so before I get to the other piece of data, I do want to put together what that equates to. So that extra 22 and a half hours a week, this is what it adds up to in a year. Over 1,000 hours and 49 days of extra work time. Imagine if you could get 49 days back in a year to do the activities that are important to you, to do the activities that you truly love. I know, yikes, right? When I put that together, it was like, that's over a month. That's a month and a half, right? The other stat that I saw was that when it comes to burnout, I know we've heard a lot about burnout over the years. 56% of leaders are experiencing burnout right now. And I actually thought that was, based on conversations I've had, I thought that was kind of low. But it is a problem. It is something that we need to address. And then the last piece of statistics that I thought was really interesting was that employees are more inspired and engaged when leaders interact with them for approximately 6 hours per week. So 6 hours per week dedicated to the people that aren't on your team. Yet most leaders spend far less time on these direct interactions. Just more inspiration for, if I could get time back, maybe I could dedicate it more to my one-to-one relationships, to my direct reports, to supporting my team, and the impact that that's going to have on your team to create more of this engaged space. Okay, so I know some of those statistics might seem daunting. So let's get into a more visionary, big picture, positive space. I want you to imagine if you could have a system in place to work less and accomplish more, feeling like you are confident in your leadership, you are delegating more, the work is getting done effectively, your team is high performing, they are engaged, they're accountable to their work, you're feeling more calm, more more clear, you're more focused, you have time for your family and big picture thinking. Altogether, you feel like you're being more intentional. You have control without having to control everything. And you have time back to think, to lead, to breathe, and to be with the people that you care about without sacrificing results. Does that sound good to anyone? Is that something that you would like to see for yourself? Yep, I'm seeing some checks. And if anyone is not on mute, could you just make sure that you're on mute? I was hearing a little bit of feedback. Yes. Candace says, sounds amazing. Wouldn't that be great? I got some thumbs up as well. So I want you to imagine the possibility and really think about, what if this could be me 1 year from now, and I could do all of that without working all hours, feeling like I'm stretched too thin, and I have the Sunday joys instead of the Sunday blues. I want to make that happen for you. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my own story. My career path, not linear at all. I went to college for theater, and after college, I moved out to Hollywood. And I lived there for 3 years, trying to make it as an actress and a movie star. Spoiler alert, that did not happen. However, that experience there, working odd jobs, working for America's Funniest Home Videos, selling smoked salmon at a farmer's market, and really taking the risk to go out there, getting lots of really harsh, uncomfortable feedback along the way. It taught me a lot about resilience. I'd failed, I'd felt shame, and I survived. I got through it. It really helped me to embrace that I'm a work in progress. There's always opportunity to get a little bit better. I'm someone who makes mistakes, and I can learn from them. So when I moved back east and I landed my first corporate role at a hospital, it was a hospital, University of Maryland Medical Center in downtown Baltimore. I saw a lot of stress. Healthcare leaders, they were overwhelmed, juggling team dynamics, conflict, burnout, questioning their purpose. And for me, having come back from Hollywood, I didn't want that to be my story. I was already stressed and overwhelmed and exhausted from my experience. I didn't want to spend the next several years in that same place. So I had this hunger for learning. I read everything that I could, took lots of workshops on managing my time, developing leadership skills, sought out mentors. And along the way, I built these systems that helped me stay calm, helped me stay focused, not overextending myself. People started to ask me about them and I shared them. I started teaching others and coaching others more informally. They started asking more questions, implementing these things. They were seeing their results, and people just kept continuing to come to me for advice. And that's when I knew I was meant to teach, I was meant to coach. So I pivoted from an operations leadership role 13, 14 years ago into the learning and development space where I could full time study leadership, coaching, team development. And all along the way, I started getting promoted into these higher level positions, leading the learning function. And I wanted to ensure that along the way, the things that I saw in those senior leaders working all hours, working weekends, answering emails on a Saturday, I didn't want that to be me. So I made sure that I kept those boundaries, I kept those systems in place, and I was able to do all of that, raise a couple kids, move across the country from Maryland to Colorado, and still work that 40-hour a week, not overextend myself. And that is what I want for you. I want you to feel that as well. So here's my goal for you today. I want to show you that it's possible to get consistent, impactful results without having to sacrifice yourself and your time to do it. I want you to get to the good part of leadership, the part where your team is growing and they're performing, you're enjoying guiding and coaching and leading them. And I don't want it to take years for you to get there. Now, stuff gets in the way because we'd all be doing this if we could, if it was easy, right? We'd already be doing it, but it's not. One of the biggest barriers that we find ourselves in is the belief system that we have, right? We believe that we can't make mistakes. We have to have all the answers. We need to be accessible 24/7, need to work all hours, need to fix all of our weaknesses and our team's weaknesses. Are any of these beliefs resonating with you? Are there other beliefs that get in the way? I'd love for you to share in the chat other beliefs, barriers that get in the way for you of why we're not there already. What's coming to mind for you? Oh, yes, it's frowned upon to say no, or we're afraid of the consequences of saying no. Sometimes it's the culture. You can't say no. Sometimes it's our own people pleasing, right? Anyone else? Any other beliefs? Keep thinking things will slow down, right? Yeah, if I could just get to next month, if I could just get to the new year, then things would be better. That's a great one, Kathy. Thank you for sharing that. There's a lot that we can do to reclaim our time, our energy, and focus. But there are three habits that I've consistently see have the most impact on people that I've worked with. And they're habits that I've used for years that have significantly changed the way that I work and organize my day. So, today we're going to do some self assessments. I've got some polls. We're going to do some exercises, really get a sense of the current state of where you feel you're at. We're going to talk about some foundations for ensuring that these three habits are sustainable. And then we're going to get tactical and do some practicing of how we implement this. And this is a culmination. These three habits, these are things that I have used, best practices I've used for many, many, many years working in healthcare, public sector, the nonprofit spaces. Most of that time I was in a formal leadership role. And so it really helped to make sure that I had the capacity to be able to truly lead my team well. So, before we start digging into the nuts and bolts, I want you to have a realistic expectation of what it takes to grow as a leader. There is no arrival. Leadership is a long game. No matter where we're at in our leadership journey, we're always going to need to invest in our own development. Workshops like these, books, podcasts, 360s, coaches, mentors, but there is no quick fix. There's no one and done. If you are looking for that, I'm going to be perfectly honest, this conversation is probably not for you because it's just a starting point. We're just kind of dipping our toes into what's possible. And if you do want to dig in more at the end of this, I'll share some ways that we could potentially partner at the end. Okay, let's dive in. This is going to be the first time that we are going to do a self-assessment. So let me make sure my polls are working. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to share how maxed out you're feeling. Again, this is just to give us a sense of current state. This is anonymous. I can't see who is answering what. So on a scale of 1, how maxed out are you feeling? Okay. Results are coming in. We'll give another 5 seconds. Okay. So here's the results. 5, we got one person in the 5 space. Most people are feeling like a 7 or 8. So I'm not totally maxed out, but not feeling 100% either. Thank you for sharing that. Again, that just gives you a sense of where you're starting. So you might want to mark on your piece of paper your maxed out number on a scale of 1 to 10 and capture that for yourself. Before I get tactical with the three habits, it's important to build our awareness about our relationship and perception of time. So I want you to think about this question for yourself. What is my relationship with time? Do I consider it a friend or a foe? So go ahead and let me know in the chat. When you think about your relationship with time, do you think of it more as a friend or do you think of it more as a foe? What would you say? Go ahead and mark that in the chat. Friend or foe? Foe. That was quick. Constant juggling act. For me, it depends on the day. Yeah, sure. Frenemy, Raquel. How about this? Do you prioritize what's on your schedule or do you schedule your priorities? So, which one do you relate more to? Do you prioritize what's already on your schedule or do you schedule your priorities? What do you think? Prioritize what's on my schedule, Jessica says. Yeah. Yeah. So much going on, prioritizing what's already on your schedule. Yeah. Same. How about this? Do you feel like there's not enough time or is time endless? Not enough. I think that was the quickest answer yet for people. Do you feel like time controls you or do you control it? Does time control you or? Yeah. Maybe both. Yeah. And then the last one, do you feel like time works against you or are you working with it? Does time work against you? Mostly against you, right? Yeah. So that is just a place for you to start, right? We're getting a sense of current state. And so for a lot of us, maybe we don't have the most positive relationship with time. Another piece when we're talking about relationship with time, I think it's also important for us to address the word busy or our busyness. Is when we think of busy, is that something that we wear as a badge of honor, or are we trying to eliminate it from our language? It's hard because busy, it makes us feel needed. It makes us feel wanted and important. But busy doesn't always equate to impact and value and getting the results that we want, right? What do you think of this quote? Do you agree? Would you like to stop glorifying busy and wearing it as a badge of honor? Can you be okay with not being busy? What do you think? I'd love not to be busy. Yes. Yes. So, you know what? That's a great thing to put on a sticky note. If this is something that really resonates with you, write on a sticky note, it's okay not to be busy. And put it on your desk. I have sticky notes here that remind me, what's my intention today? I'm playing the long game. I think that they're really helpful to have a visual. So that might be a visual for you. It is okay not be busy. Time is not outside of us. We have more control of time, our work, our schedules than we think. Busy doesn't have to be part of our vocabulary anymore. And if we can change our relationship with time to become more positive, we can change how we navigate our work. In addition to thinking about our relationship with time and how we feel about busyness, it is also important for us to recognize the mindsets that typically drive our relationship with time. And this is the reason why I'm starting here. It's because it's so foundational. It's going to make the habits more sustainable if we can have a positive relationship with time and if we can get into the right mindset. The mindset, this is really the lens with which we see the world. It is driven by our past experiences, it shapes our thoughts, it shapes our belief system. And that perception, that belief system, our thoughts, our mindset, it shapes our behavior and it drives our results. And there's typically two sets of mindsets that really drive our relationship with time. And if we can get into the right space, it's going to help with the sustainability of these habits. So the first set of mindsets I want to talk about is scarcity versus abundance. So many of you, I'm sure, have heard of this concept before. When I'm talking about scarcity, this regards time as a limited commodity. So you remember where we said time is endless and there's not enough time? This is the belief that there's not enough time. We're pressured by deadlines. We fear wasted moments. And this perspective, it really can lead to a lot of stress, impatience, this constant rush. In contrast, an abundance mindset, it perceives time as ample, allowing individuals to approach it with patience and focus on long term goals. We're less concerned with the immediate deadlines and we're thinking about the long game. We're thinking about more holistic growth. This mindset, it promotes a relaxed, forward looking attitude, reducing stress, and enabling us to make more thoughtful decisions about how we allocate our time and our energy. So we want to lean more into that abundance mindset space. The other set of mindsets is urgency versus importance. So, an urgency mindset, this focuses on tasks with imminent deadlines. It often neglects the long term goals to focus on the short term gains. And this is what leads to reactive behavior, again, stress, this constant sense of rushing. A lot of what you all talked about, you don't want to feel anymore. When we lean into an importance mindset first, this is the space that really prioritizes things based on how the significant impact they're going to make, the long term impact, regardless of immediate deadlines. It emphasizes strategic planning, personal growth, relationship building, goal achievement. And what you want to do is really balance both of these mindsets, but you want to start from a place of importance first. knowing that some urgent activities will come up, but it should only be about 20-25% of our time. We should not be firefighting all the time. And that's what happens when we lead with urgency first. That importance, that is the focus on the long game, on the long term. You're really thinking beyond this immediate moment to see what the ripple effects are going to have on the long term. So we want to lead with that importance mindset. So as you dive into this work, it's important to self assess. How would you answer these questions for yourself today? This is a great reflection exercise to take back with you after. Maybe do some journaling around. What's my relationship with time? Really get serious about that and think about that. And how can you shift that? Do I lead from abundance or scarcity? And do I focus on importance first? Having a positive relationship with time, leaning towards that abundance mindset, and focusing on what matters most first, it's going to increase the effectiveness of the strategies I'm going to talk you through next. So, we're coming back to the poll, and I'm going to introduce this first habit, but I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. There, it just launched. On a scale of 1 to 10, how easily do you nope things? How easily do you say no? Okay, seeing those answers come in. Yeah, so I'm getting a sense from these results that for most of us, it's not easy. Saying no, saying nope. I like nope. Um, it's just such a great word, that key pop at the end. Yes, so for most of us, it looks like saying no, saying nope is really hard. But it's one of the habits. We've got to practice saying no more. When you say yes to something, you're automatically saying no to something else. It could be another event, it could be meeting another deadline, your mental well being, your mental health, time with your family, time with your friends. So, this first habit is around saying no on a regular basis, and the challenge that I have for you is for the next 30 days you're going to look at your calendar and you are going to note one thing, meeting that doesn't add value or you don't add value to, a project that maybe isn't kicking off for another month so we could move this meeting out. What's something that maybe is being scheduled for an hour that we could talk about in 20 minutes? What's a social gathering for you that isn't an absolute yes for me right now? So that is a challenge for you. For the next 30 days, you nope one thing on your calendar. Now, I have a caveat with this because I remember doing a keynote about managing your workload, prioritization, and this is something that I talk about often in my teachings. I encourage people to say no. It's really about being strategic with what's on your plate. And I remember after this session, a leader from the event approached me and said, I'm struggling with one of my team members. We keep setting up meetings to discuss her performance, but she keeps declining them. And when they asked her why, she reminded them that I said, that you could nope things. Her response was, Jen said I could nope everything. And since Jen said I could no, then I can say no. And that was not exactly what I meant. Yes, saying no, noping things absolutely can be liberating, but it is a strategic move, not an emotional one. Noping isn't about avoiding, it's about making sure that I'm saying yes to the right things, that I'm noping the things that could be rescheduled, that I'm saying no to the places where I don't add value, that I'm noping the responsibilities that aren't in my strengths, that I'm saying no to the events that aren't an immediate heck yes. And then I'm noping the projects that are better suited for someone else, but I'm doing it with respect and care, that I'm following up with the individual. I'm sending someone in my place. I'm offering an alternative project deadline or asking if the activity can be postponed. It's always important to note things with curiosity and compassion and always having the conversation. So that's the caveat. And please don't say no to that very important meeting with your leaders when you need to discuss your performance. So we're going to do an activity right now. And you can either do this on your piece of paper, or if it's helpful to look at your calendar as you're doing this, I want you to nope one thing right now. Where is there a meeting that you are not getting value or not adding value? What does it need to happen right now? So look at your calendar. And if you need to have that follow up conversation, don't delete yourself from it right now. Make a note that you want to follow up and note. But seriously, look at your calendar. What is there one thing that you can say no to? I want you to write it down because after you get off this call, you're going to go and follow up and nope it. This is you getting into the practice. You're building a habit so it becomes more regular. And yes, in the future, past 30 days, you might not nope one thing a week, but it's what it's going to do. It's going to train your brain to be more thoughtful about saying yes to things. You're going to ask yourself those questions. Is this the right thing for me? Is there somebody else on my team that maybe could do this in my place? Or is this something that has to happen right now? We're going to be asking those questions more. And hey, if you want to put it out in the universe and let us know what you're noping, I would love to see that in the chat. You can go ahead and let us know. Is there a meeting you're noping? Is there an event you're noping? Something you're going to push out? Would love to see that. If you feel comfortable sharing, go ahead and let us know what you're saying no to. And it could be an event outside of work, maybe something that you're dreading that you could use that time back for yourself. Anyone want to share? And you're always welcome to unmute yourself and share out loud too, if that helps. Okay, community-based meeting. Great. Thank you, Dean, for sharing that. Anyone else? Anything that you want to note and share? Meeting that starts before you start your workday. Okay, yes. I remember getting a meeting on my calendar. It's 4 o'clock, and there was a meeting on my calendar that popped up for 9 a.m. And I noped that. I did it in a kind and gentle way, but I just said, this is within 24 hours. There's no agenda with the meeting. I'm not sure what the purpose is. Is this something that you could give me a little bit more information about? And then we can move to another day. Okay, feel free to keep sharing those things that you want to say no to. And we're going to go on to the next habit. I have another poll for you. I'm going to ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, how accomplished you feel at the end of the week. So I'm launching this now. How accomplished? It's the end of the week. It's Friday. How accomplished do you feel? Okay, see some answers coming in. I'll give you another 10 seconds to share. How accomplished are you feeling on Fridays? What do you think? Okay. All right. Most of you have answered, so I'm going to share. Got a mixed bag here, right? So some people are less than 5, some people above. So probably in the 5, 6 range on average. Not great, right? Maybe kind of neutral. There's certainly some opportunity for us to feel more accomplished. I know there's times where that has happened to me. The day has just flown by but when I look at it, I think I spent half the time in emails or doing little tasks. I didn't really feel like I was working on anything important. So this second habit is really about time blocking. I have a meeting with myself every Monday from I think 8 to 8:30. It's blocked on my calendar. It's a reoccurring meeting. And in that 30 minutes, I go through my calendar. That's when I will note things if it doesn't make sense or reschedule things. And then the time in between those meetings, I block it. I protect that time for focused work because if you've got empty time on your calendar, people are going to fill it. So that is the second habit that has been extremely helpful for me throughout the years. It's a habit I've had for over a decade, and it's one that I work with all of the individuals, all the leaders that I coach and teach. This is one of my top recommendations for them. It's that meeting with yourself to protect your time and energy and be really strategic about your schedule. I look at the week, I block time for the week, I look in the future, 2, 3 weeks out. Oh, I know I've got a presentation in 3 weeks. I need to start working on the outline now. I've got an hour. I'm going to block that off and focus. That is what I do in that time for myself. And Raquel, I just noticed in the Chat, you said you want to decline a weekly meeting with a colleague, but not sure I can. All I hear is what I do wrong and it's draining. Oh, yes. Well, that's time maybe for a crucial conversation and really discussing with that colleague what's the purpose, what's the intent of these meetings, and come up with a purpose together and maybe then share because this is what the purpose feels like to me. Raquel, you and I can absolutely offline or maybe talk at the end a little bit more about that as well. So these habits that I'm talking about, I want to introduce you to somebody that I've been working with for a while. Someone, a CEO, Lisa, she came to me and she was exhausted. She wanted to spend more time with her family and for herself. She was working from the moment she got up in the morning to the evening, including Saturdays and Sundays. A lot of the feelings you all shared with me, that belief system, the things that got in the way, she was feeling that too. She had to be accessible to everyone. She needed to have all of the answers. She was doing it all and she knew that it wasn't sustainable. Ultimately, her goal was to not work weekends anymore, to have Fridays off as much as she could. She wanted to be able to delegate confidently, knowing and trusting that the work would get done and the quality would be this what she expected. And she wanted space to vision, to think, to plan, develop relationships, and grow herself, her team, and the organization. So, one of the habits that we talked about was noping things. And then there were two other things that were important for her to review in that weekly planning meeting. The second one was about delegation. Who else can take this on? Who can I coach to step up? There's a quote that I saw recently. I think someone shared this in social media. And it was if someone on your team could do it 80% as well as you, that is a huge win. So, can you think of someone on your team that they could do it 80% as well as you? So, give them a chance. Great growth opportunity for them. You get a chance to coach them into that space, and then you can let go of some of those things where you know that you don't add as much value anymore, or maybe you never added value in the first place. And then what are things that really truly need my expertise? Where do I add the most value? So, this is an example of what the agenda for your meeting with yourself could look like for your calendar. That you're looking at things and you're noping what could potentially I delegate, and then what are the things that I absolutely know that I want to keep. And then I'm plopping in that time in between to making sure that I'm protecting it for the focused work that I need to do. So if you have your calendar open, great, because the second part of this exercise is to delegate. So you've already noped one thing or put down that you want to nope one thing. What is one thing that you could delegate? I want you to write that down. Who could do it 80% as well as you? Who would you like to coach up? Who could this be a great growth opportunity for? And Jess, while you all are writing that down, she had posted a question in the chat. How do you address people who don't even pay attention to what you have blocked? So 3 times in the past couple weeks, management above me have booked meetings over other meetings I already have blocked. So when that happens, I suggest another time. So I don't know if that's something, Jess, that you're already doing, but I think in the old email system I used to use, you could uh, request or suggest a new time. I don't remember what the wording for that is. So that's one thing that I might do is suggest another time. Or I would ask, is there someone I can send in my place because I'm not able to attend? So those are two ways. And Jess, we can talk at the end maybe for a little bit more and see if there's some other ways that we could do that as well. Mm. Yeah, Jess, if there's time at the end, we can dig into that a little bit more. So delegate. What is one thing you can delegate? Were you able to address that, figure that out, what you want to delegate? Go ahead and post in the chat. Love to see if there's one thing. And while you have those calendars open, do this right now. Make that reoccurring planning meeting with yourself. I chose 8 to 8:30 Monday mornings. You might say 8:30 to 9, but do it now because you know when you get off the call, you're going to get sucked into the whirlwind. So block that time off now. Say that's your planning time or calendar planning time, call it whatever you want to, but make that reoccurring meeting right now. I'm giving you time and space to be able to do that. And Sounds like people are sharing what they're going to delegate. Quarter one report to supervisor, and then I'll review for final. Beautiful. Does it count if I did it yesterday during a one-to-one? Haha, I delegated someone to take on a group training. Sure, Kathy, that counts. We can count that as your delegation for the week. Absolutely. Find something that you can delegate every week, right? This is just to get you into the habit of thinking more strategically about your schedule and being really intentional about it. Okay, so I hope you've made that reoccurring meeting for yourself on your calendar, because that is something that you want to start right away. And then you don't even have to think about it. Once you send it, once you've added it as a reoccurring, it's done. And then when you get to Monday morning, don't beat yourself up if you don't do it 100% of the time. Shoot for 80%, knowing that sometimes things get in the way. But if 80% of the time I can have that planning time and block my calendar and be really strategic with my time, that is a huge win. And coming back to Lisa, who's put these habits into place, she's been taking off, she took off all of her Fridays in the summer. She can't take off every single Friday, but she's been taking off Fridays here and there to go hiking with her partner, to have time for herself. She wanted more time for creativity, which has been great. And she has delegated like a champ. She's delegated work for payroll, accounting, sales, and this is giving her time back on her calendar to build relationships with new customers. She is focusing on growing her team now. We actually have a couple of team sessions come up because she has the time to do that now. She has more time to coach and guide and vision for her organization. This was huge for her and it's really built her confidence as a leader. And I want that for you as well. And then the last tip related to this habit, one of the items that gets us into urgency mode first thing in the morning is opening up our email and starting to go through them. Instead, you can set your Outlook or your Gmail, you can set it to open to your calendar first. So instead of it going through email, you look at your calendar first and you spend the first 2 minutes to map out your day. Review what you have on your calendar, review your task list. What do you have to accomplish? What's that one important thing that you want to make sure that you get done? What is not as urgent or important that could be moved or potentially eliminated? Then either take 30 minutes to accomplish one of your big to-dos, or you can start sorting your email. But it just makes sure that that first 2 minutes of your day, you're in a more strategic framework, right? This is your time to really make sure that you're starting that day from importance instead of urgency. So shifting from looking at your email first thing in the morning to looking at your calendar. All right, last habit we're going to talk about is actually around emails. So this is the last poll that I have for you. And I want you to answer on a scale of 1 to 10, how effectively are you managing your emails? How effectively do you feel like you're managing your emails? Okay, getting a mix of answers here. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share the results. So a bit of a mix. You know, one person feeling like 8 out of 10, pretty good. And then most of us are probably kind of in the middle or not so great when it comes to emails. So this is my top tip for navigating through all of your emails. Don't answer them throughout the day. Pause and batch answer your email. So for example, me, I go through my emails 2 or 3 times a day. I typically browse through them in the morning just to see if anything has popped up that I need to address right away. And then I'll actually answer them around lunchtime, a little bit after lunchtime, and then before the end of the day. I'll see if anything has popped up. But then in between, I pause them. I turn off any notifications so I'm not constantly distracted, because if you are working something, you're focused on something and you're constantly seeing the number increase for your emails or you're hearing the ping and it distracts you from what you're doing. It takes on average, I think the statistic I heard in a class that I was in last week was 25 minutes, like somewhere between 20 to 25 minutes to really get back into what you're doing. That is not an effective way to lead to get your work done. And there is actually a tool that I recommend that you can download for free. And I'm grabbing the link for this because I want to share it with you. It's a Boomerang app. It's something that I've been using for years and years and years. And again, it's free. They have a paid version, but you could do the free version. And it allows me to pause my email. So it goes into a separate folder. It doesn't come up into my email box because with a lot of my work, I need to work in my email box, referring back to things that people sent me. And so if I don't pause that email, I'm going to keep seeing them come in. This makes sure that I don't see them, I don't think about them, and then I'll check that paused inbox later. You can also schedule emails out. So some people like to work later at night. They're night owls and they might be working at 9 o'clock, but I don't want it to look like I'm working late because I don't want to pressure my employees to feel like they need to answer emails or respond to emails at 9 p.m. So you can schedule that email to go out the next morning as well. So it's a really great app. It works for a number of different email platforms as well. That is my final tip. So those are the 3 habits. Again, we're just dipping our toes into all of this, but it is really about identifying one thing a week that you can build the habit over the next 30 days. It is so liberating. Let me tell you, when I first started doing that habit many years ago, it's just so liberating. And then have that 30-minute planning session with yourself every Monday morning to delegate, be really clear about what it is that you want to keep, and block in the time for focused work. Pause and batch your emails. Open your calendar first thing in the morning. And remember, this is just to start a few habits to help you. Most people will probably need a bigger system to help them navigate it all. And that's why I'm just going to share with you, if this is something you want to dig into a little bit deeper, I'm just going to share a couple of options with you, and then I'm going to open this up to Q&A. So if you are someone that doesn't have a lot of time to invest, but you know you need a deeper dive in this area, I have a boot camp that is coming up. It's coming up January 6th, 7th, and 8th, an hour each day where we really dig into your goals, how to get yourself organized so that you're really focused on what matters work most and that you're not working late hours. You walk away with the tools that you need to really move the needle. And then our second session is about focus. How do we navigate the distractions? How do we protect our time, maximize our energy, stay resilient? And then in the last session, we create that sustainability plan, a plan to make sure that progress beyond the boot camp continues. And there will be space for some real time coaching in action. It's all about I'm all about practical. I want you to have practical tools that you can implement right away. So that again is a great option if you want to gain more time back in your calendar, you want to delegate with more confidence, you want to have some immediate practical leadership tools, and you're looking for a sustainability plan. Again, you don't have a lot of time and you don't have a lot of money to invest. If you are looking for something that is more extensive, right? 3 hours is great, but I really want more support, and I want more support beyond just navigating my workload. I also want to build my confidence around how I receive and give feedback, how I use my strengths, how I navigate conflict and tough conversations. You also want to see your team really thrive. How do I make sure that I am building trust and psychological safety, that I'm using strengths of my team, that I am delegating effectively, and that I'm growing each individual? And then at the end, part of this 6-month coaching program is we create a more extensive sustainability plan. What happens beyond those 6 months? I'd love to work with everybody forever, but I know that that is just not feasible. And I want to make sure that people at the end are armed with tools that continue to help them grow. Because as I said, there's no arrival with leadership. There's always space for continuous growth and improvement. So this again is a more intense program. It is something that if you're looking for something that's more long-term, you are feeling burnt out, you feel like you're stretched too thin, you've kind of reached the growth ceiling, and you want to scale beyond that. You feel like maybe your team isn't performing, they're struggling, they're not engaged. Maybe you've taken on a new role and you really want to ramp up your leadership skills. You feel like life has taken over, your work has really taken over your life. You don't have a life anymore and you really want to realign. And this program, it includes one-to-one sessions over the 6 months. We have weekly group coaching sessions where you can talk through things with your peers, you can learn with your peers. I use a variety of assessment tools that we really dig into around communication strengths, your talents. There is a resource center that you have access to beyond the 6 months with tools and templates and exercises that we do. It's just a wealth of information that I'm constantly adding to. And then I'd mention that sustainability plan. So if you want fewer fire drills, if you want less reaction, more proactivity, you want to be able to make better decisions, stronger team alignment, and really you want that sustainability, this second program, the coaching program, is really for you. Just some testimonials. Lisa's up there, a few other people that I've worked with over time. Elise, she had gotten promoted from an individual contributor to a senior director pretty quickly. And so she really needs to ramp up her skills, create this aligned, engaged team. Ryan wanted to work on his tough conversation skills and his communication skills with his leaders. Katie, her morale was low on her team. She wanted to understand her strengths, delegate more, and we were able to reach all of that with those individuals. So those are the two sessions that I'd mentioned. I'm going to drop a few links of all of this in the chat for you. So if it's something that you're interested in, you can take a look and explore these a little bit more. And with that, if you want to connect with me, if you want to reach out to me, I think you all have my email address. This is my website. I think I'm connected with almost all of you on LinkedIn as well. And I'm going to stop sharing just to see if anyone has any questions or wants to address any of those things that we were chatting with